Don't worry about it. I got something for you. All right, so we give praise, esteem, and honor to Abba and Shamim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Pick this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. When others shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? You ain't got to do all that. That comes from Elohim only. Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? All esteem and praise Abba and Shamaim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. Speak this up in Revelation 5 and 1. Shalom, Jay. And I saw on the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book, written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong Malachim proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in Shamahim nor in the Arats, neither under the Arats, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. Shalom, Mika. And I wept much because of the man was found worthy to open and to read the book. Indeed. To look thereon, and I wept much because no man was found worthy to open and read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Yehudah, the root of Dawood, have prevailed to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, so the Lamb as had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 ruachs of Elohim sent forth into all their rats. Come here, boy. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden bowls full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sung a new song, saying, you are worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For you were slain and have redeemed us to Elohim by your blood out of every kindred, tongue, people, and nation, and have made unto us our Elohim kings and priests, and we shall reign on their rats. So check it. Let's come back over here to Zechariah 5, right? Dwayne Jamal. Hey, sit down. Sit down. You gotta help. Sit down. Come on. Come on. Come on. You're all right, boy. They can see you crying, boy. Ain't you a man? You a man? You being a baby. You're not being a man, you being a baby. So let's go back to Zechariah 5 and 5, and what we talked about a little bit last week. And we'll deal with, I think we're in Revelation 17. No, son. You play too much, boy. You want your head busted. That's what you want. Then the Malachim that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up now your eyes and see what is that go forth. And I said, what is it? And he said, this is the ephod that go forth. And he said, moreover, this is their resemblance through all their rats. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sit in the midst of the ephod. And he said, this is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephod and cast out the weight of the lead upon the mouth thereof. And I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephod between the Arats and Shamaim. Then I said to the Malachim that talked with me, will it be these bear the ephod? And he said unto me to build it in the house of the land of Shinar, and it shall be established there and set upon her base. Come to Revelation 18. What you found out, man. So, of course, we dealt with that, and that's being weighed in the balance. Hey, cut it out. I'm not playing, boy. You're going to get embarrassed. And Joanne, you better not go join in with him or you're going to get in trouble with it. Revelation 18:1. And after these things I saw another Malachim come down from Shamanim having great power, and its earth was lightened. It's just going back over this, and we're going to jump to Revelation 17 and Zechariah 6 to deal with these horses and rocket and roll. Shalom, Sister Virginia. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, has become the habitation of devils, the hold of every foul ruach, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the Arats have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from the Shamanim saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and you receive not of her plague. Hey, cut it out. Hey, get your behind up. Come over here to Jeremiah 51. We can rehash Isaiah 47. That's what you get because you're being hard-headed. Shalom, Brother Mo. I think we read this the other day, but we'll read it again. This is Jeremiah 51. And 36. Jeremiah 51 and 36. Bring it here. Hey, that thing you caught his face. That's why you got to chill out. All them extra exaggerated movements, all that's not necessary. Not him to bring the hat. You ain't got to snatch and do all that. You're doing too much. Matter of fact, make it 34. Matter of fact, make it 33. Jeremiah 51 and 33. For thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yasharal, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a serpent. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitant of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Now, I wanted to read 35 because I wanted to see who remembered what 35 was bearing witness to. Jeremiah 51 and 35 says, the violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon. Who recalls what that's referring to? How would you explain what that means, what that looked like? I need to see who remembers. It's been a long time. So I need to see who can recall and at least can give 2 to 3 witnesses to support their stance. Anybody? Does anybody remember? The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitants of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah, behold, I will plead your cause and take vengeance for you, and I will dry up her spring sea and make her springs dry. Does anybody recall? Because if not, I'm going to keep it pressing, and we're going to rock it out right now. Let me do this for you. Let's come over here to Genesis 9 and 5. Let me do that. Maybe this will jog your memory when we read Genesis 9 and 5. If that won't help you out, we'll read Genesis chapter 2. This is Genesis chapter 9, verse 5. You can make it 4. But the flesh with the life thereof, the blood thereof shall you not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man, and at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheds man blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. Let's come over here to Genesis chapter 2. verse 20, 22 or 21. After that, we'll go to Ephesians 5. And Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from man made he woman and brought her unto the man. Hey, cut it out. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman, for she was taken out of the man. Matter of fact, let's do this here. 1 Chronicles 10. It might be 2 Chronicles 10. Let me check. Yeah. 2 Chronicles 10. That ain't what I want either. Hey, be quiet. It's 1 Chronicles 11 and 1. Be quiet. Joanne. Hey, Joanne. No, get over here and sit down. Pardon me for a moment. Not clean. Get your behind over there and sit down. It's not clean time. Get up. Go sit. Go. Get out. Let's go. Go sit down. First Chronicles 11 and 1. Then all Yasharal gathered themselves to David unto Hebron, saying, behold, we are your bone and your flesh. Now, you got those three things? Let's take Ephesians 5 into play. Now, you ain't gave me no sense, old beans. Shalom, Brother Ernest. I don't even know what that is. Ephesians 5, verse 30. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Hamashiach in the assembly. I ain't never watched Dragon Ball Z day in my life, man. So check it. You just heard something in Genesis 9. You just heard something in Genesis 2. You heard something in 1 Chronicles 11. You heard something in Ephesians 5. So when we come back to Jeremiah 51 and 35, taking those things into account, what you heard, the violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon. And shall the inhabitant of Zion say, Shalom, Brother Marvin, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. So when we take this into account, you heard that whosoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood must be shed. You just heard it say the woman was taken out of Adam. He said, this is flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. The people came to David and said, we are flesh of your flesh, bone of your bone. Ephesians 5, Paul's making reference that, you thought that Genesis 2 was about Adam and Eve, but it was really talking about a Mashiach in the assembly. So when you read the violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitant of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Come over here to Matthew 25. And after that, Acts 9. Matthew chapter 25. Verse 41. 25 and 41. Then shall he say unto them on the left hand, depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his malachim. For I was hungered, and you gave me no meat, and I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in, naked, and you clothed me not, sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they answer to him, saying, Lord, when we saw you hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not serve unto you? Then shall he answer them, truly I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of these, the least of these, you did it not unto me. These shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous unto life eternal. Let's come to Acts 9, because it's been a long time since we talked about it. You may have forgotten. Acts chapter 9, verse 1. Hey, Joanne, be quiet. And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest and desired of him letters to Damascus to the synagogues, that if any if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound into Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from Shammahim. And he fell to the earth and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecute you me? And he said unto him, Who are you, Lord? And he said, and the Lord said, I am Yahushua whom you persecute. Is it hard for you to kick against the pricks? Now, of course, what he's saying to Paul is what we just read in Matthew 25. He said, if you did it to the least of these, my brethren, you did it unto me. So when we come over here back to Revelation 17 and 4. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So when we come back to Jeremiah 51 and 35, and prayerfully this stirs your pure minds by way of remembrance of what this verse was referring to. And we see the violence done to me and to my flesh. Ask Muffin to do it. Let's put his shoes on. I don't have you know he's gonna start. I don't have time to hear that. You got to know what battles to fight and what's going on. Now he's distracted, so let him be. So when you look at this here, right, the violence done to me. Well, who do they do the violence to? Well, we just read that you seen the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the martyrs of the Lord. So therefore, they did the violence to him, because if you did it to the least of these, my brethren, you did it unto me. This is what. Hey, cut it out. Pardon me for a moment. Tell me no one more time, bro. Boy, ain't nobody did nothing. You be quiet, boy. So obviously, verse 35 in Jeremiah 51 is pertaining to the persecution of the saints. Therefore, when you persecute the saints, you persecute the Lord. And because you persecute the Lord, then therefore he's going to render the very same vengeance on their head. You did? So this is Jeremiah 51 and 36. Well, I read 36. I'll read it again. I'll read 35 again. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitants of Zion say. And my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah, behold, I will plead your cause and take vengeance for you. I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. And Babylon shall become a heap, a dwelling place for serpents, an astonishment, a hissing, without inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions. They shall yell as lions whelps. And in their heat I will make their feasts. I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, saith Yahuwah. I will bring them down like the lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Shishak taken? How is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How has Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? Let's pause at that. And let's go to Isaiah 47, which is effectively what you're going to see in Revelation 18. But this is for people who are not familiar with it. Those of you who are familiar with it, you already know. Isaiah 47 and 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. No throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind mill and uncover the locks. Make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Of course, you can read similar verbiage in Nahum. We talked about this about a couple months back, about him pulling your skirt up so your sins can be shown. That's where your nakedness come in at. If you take that and recall, of course, with Adam being naked, that's mean your sins are out. That's why he told you in Revelation 16 and 15 Take heed and take your garment, lest you be found naked and your shame appear. Hey, Joanne, sit your behind down. Get off that couch again. Get up there and sit down. I'm not playing. Get up there and sit down. Get up there and sit down. I'm not going to pick you up. Get up there and sit down. Don't get up no more. Shalom, Dre, man. Where we at with it? Verse 3, Isaiah 47. Your nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, your shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet you as a man. Shalom, Brother Mike, man. Now, notice how he said he won't meet you as a man. Now, how are we going to explain that? Can somebody explain to me that I will not meet you as a man? Anybody got any passages that they would use to explain this statement? He said, I will not, your nakedness shall be uncovered, your shame will be seen, and I will take vengeance. I will not meet you as a man. Give y'all a few moments to ponder upon that. I know most of you done seen, no. We're in Isaiah 47:3. I know most of y'all seen Jesse Jackson died. You know, a lot of people been going back and forth about his contributions or not his contributions. I had forgotten that there was actually a time when he was caught on a hot mic saying Obama should have his nuts cut because he was hating. But you know what I'm saying? It was a spirited conversation had today in regards to, this is buying y'all time to come up with an answer because ain't nobody give me nothing last time. Somebody got to give me something this time because I got time. In regards to him being involved with Martin Luther King's death. You know, and you say Deuteronomy 7 and 9 to 10, and I know what that referred to, but I'm gonna have to. You probably gonna have to go on the other side of the book for this one. I read Deuteronomy 7 and 9 though. Know therefore that Yahuwah Elohim, he is Elohim, the faithful Elohim, who keep covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repay them that hate him to their face to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hate him. He will repay him to his face. Now see, with that, it won't specify the fact he said, I will not meet you as a man. So that's the part that we have to clarify, if you will. Shalom, Brother Shaul. Yeah, Revelation 1 and 14 was going to leave a little wanting in your explanation because that's the correct answer. But shoot, you only got one part to the equation to be able to make that plain because that one passage in and of itself ain't going to make that plain. I'll read Revelation 1 and 14. And his head and hairs were white like wool, white as snow. And his eyes were the flame of fire, his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice the sound of many waters. And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun that shine in his strength. So this is the part how we'll work this out to show you how he'll show you that he will not come at him as a man, but as Elohim. So this is what you want to do first. You want to go to Galatians 4. And this is for the establishment that he was a man. This is Galatians 4 and 1. Now I say the heir, as long as he is a child, differ nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all, but is under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the Abba. Even so, when we were children, we were in bondage of the elements of the world. But when the fullness of the time was come, Elohim sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law. So boom, this is the aspect that he was a man. He was made under the law. Now I want to come over here to what? Matthew 20, just for particular verbiage. And then from Matthew 20 to Luke 40, 20, 24 and 36. No, there it is. Luke 20 and 25. Matthew. Hey! Be quiet. Matthew 20 and 25. Hey, I said be quiet, dude. I don't care about none of that. But Yahushua called them unto him and said, you know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them. They that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your servant. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the son of Adam came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. He said, this is why he won't meet you as a man, because the beast will be a man. No. He's talking to Babylon. He's telling Babylon, I'm not going to meet you as a man. This is what Yahuwah was saying to Babylon. I'm not going to meet you as a man. Now we're looking at Yahushua because we know according to the New Testament, according to the epistle letters and the Gospels and the book of Revelation, that it's Yahushua who's going to return to meet Babylon. Now we're establishing that he was a man. See, Darius mentioned he's going to coming back as Elohim, not as a man. See, now some people will read Revelation 1 and 14 and that they would say, hey, that doesn't show forth that he's Elohim. So what we're doing right now is starting off with the aspect of reading Galatians and saying that he was born of a woman, going from Galatians to Matthew, where he refers to himself as the son of Adam, so we can show forth that he is a man. Now we're going to go to Luke 24 after his resurrection to show forth now that he Elohim, and then finish that in Romans 1 to make it plain. Now, whether a person accepts that or not, that's between them and God. None of my business. Luke 24 and 36. And as they thus spake, Yahushua himself stood in the midst of them and saith unto him, Shalom unto you. But they were affrighted and supposed that they had seen a ruach. He said unto them, why are you troubled, and why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Behold, my hands and my feet, it is I myself, handle me and see. For a ruach have not flesh and bones, as you see me have. Now, this particular instance, he's not flesh and blood. He said he's flesh and bones. Let's pause before I read Romans 1. Come to 1 Corinthians 15. First Corinthians 15 and 50. As a matter of fact, you could make it 45. 1 Corinthians 15 and 45. I want 50, but I'll read 5 up and 5 down. And so it is written that the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam, a quickening ruach. Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterwards that which is spiritual. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from Shamaim. As is the earthy, such as they that are also earthy. And as the heavenly, such as they that are also heavenly. And we have borne the image of the earthy, and we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the Malkuth of Elohim, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. Now, we also could have read in Matthew, hey, don't go in there with that, boy. Boy, you look at, man, you're gonna make me drop kick you, boy. Now, we could have also read in Matthew where he told you that, the children of the resurrection are made like unto the Malachim. And we could read in Job where he calls them the morning stars, or in that instance, they would be referred to as the sons of God. Or as it says in Job 1, the sons of God. So with that being stated and being made plain, that's where you look at that. They're not flesh and blood, so they're not corruptible. They're incorruptible. You understand? So when we come to Romans 1 and 1, and folks, some of y'all already know this, but we have to make it plain for those who may have not caught this before. It was Romans 1:1. Paul, a servant of Yahushua HaMashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the Basar of Elohim, which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Kadash scriptures, concerning his son Yahushua HaMashiach, our Lord, who was made of the seed of David according to the flesh, and declared to be the son of Elohim with power, according to the Ruach HaKadosh, and the resurrection of the dead. So when we come over here to Revelation 17, now we see how Yahushua is not a man, so therefore he's not meeting Babylon as a man. So when we come over here to Revelation 17, right? This is 17 and 11. Revelation 17 and 11. And the beast that was and is not, and even he is the eighth and is of the seven, and go into perdition. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings. And they that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful. He said unto me, the waters which you saw where the horse sit are peoples, and the multitudes, nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Elohim have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Elohim shall be fulfilled. And the woman which you saw is that great city which reigned over the kings of the earth. So, of course, if you never paid attention to it, it's the 10 kings who actually tear Babylon down. You know what I'm talking about? This is who Yahuwah used to take them down. But when you see him say, hey, I'm not going to meet you as a man, he's going to meet them as God. And that's what the Deuteronomy 7 come in at, that I will repay you to my enemies to their face. But he not coming as a man, though. He not flesh and blood. You understand? If that makes sense for you. Come back to Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47, folks. I'll read verse 3 again. But let me ask you this here. How many of y'all have heard that the individual, and I'm talking about the individuals who were actually there when Martin Luther King was shot, that they believe that Jesse Jackson had something to do with that. You know, Jesse Jackson actually wasn't on the balcony when the man got hit. He the one who got him out there on the balcony. But well, some of y'all aware that this nigga literally went up there where the man was shot, wiped his blood on his shirt, and then hopped a plane. Shalom, Brother Robert. Hopped a plane back to Chicago and tried to make it seem like he held the man's head while he was shot, bleeding to death. You know, that's what this nigga actually did, man. Can't even make this up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can look into that, Emma. There's a gentleman, I think his name Jose Williams or something like that, who was there when MLK got hit. He said he hated Jesse Jackson to the day he died because of that. You know what I'm saying? They're just having a conversation. I've been aware of the information. Him people believing that he was involved in MLK's killing. It's a lot of people who believe that. I mean, it's not the mass majority of people, but a lot of people do believe that. And what we were discussing is, people who want to disparage certain people because they don't agree with the things that they may have done, not like to that extreme. You know what I'm saying? Jesse Jackson turned African American, all this other type of stuff. I kind of refrain from doing that because a lot of people got a lot of things to say about people while they're sitting on the bench. You know what I'm talking about? Because, nobody don't really want to hear from you and you not in the game. Because you got people who want to talk about, well, you ain't doing this and you didn't do that, but you ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm talking about? But talking about what people who in the game doing and then get upset when people don't take you seriously. Like, nobody's going to take you seriously. Now, when you take this other part, like with how people view his character, would you say, yeah, I heard he played a part in lining him up allegedly. Yeah, and this is coming from people who were there. You know what I'm saying? See, some people go with conspiracy theories and things of this nature. These are the opinions of men who were there. Now, I was aware of this piece of information that MLK ain't really fool with dude like that. You know what I'm saying? He said you was looking into his work. Jesse basically was DEI before it existed. He might have sold out later, but yeah, I mean, there's some things that the man did. He said what I do respect is that he had a chance to play professional sports, but he chose what he believed. Yeah, listen, I don't like I was telling the brothers and then I think I said this to y'all last week, man. It's real easy for us to look at these men in the '60s during the civil rights time period and say they shouldn't have did this, they shouldn't have did that. But you know, they were operating with the mindset that they had in the time period that they were born in. So, like I said the other day, man, if we were living in that time period, we probably would have did some of the same things that they did or had a greater appreciation for it because that would have been the time period that we were living in. You know what I'm saying? Like coming up in the 80s, man, and being a 90s baby and all that there, man, you know what I'm saying? Me personally, I didn't have a thought process to want to do those sit-ins or this, that, there, and the third. Because my mind was, okay, if you don't want to fool with me, then I don't want to fool with you. But if I would have been born in the 20s and 30s and 40s and been a young man in the 50s and 60s, you know what I'm saying? My mentality may have very well been different. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to ridicule them being for X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? Now you can look into it. MLK felt like Jesse Jackson was too ambitious and an attention seeker, and he ain't really trust him like that. You can look at it as this is known information. This ain't people's personal opinion. This is this man's personal thoughts. You can take that and you can do whatever you want to with it. You know what I'm saying? But that's how the man looked at it. Sounds similar to how Fred Hampton was set up. Yeah. A lot of people believe that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I used to look into this stuff because, you know, with the official story. I didn't believe James Earl Ray did that no more than I believe that Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK. Didn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Shit be in the bag. If not, they in their room. So, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But, you know, he got caught later on, you know, cheating on his wife and using some of the money to pay his mistress a fake job that she wasn't working. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. But, yeah, now, Jesse Jackson there is identifiable proof that he was a third-degree Master Mason from the Prince Hall Freemasons. I haven't never seen definitive proof that Martin Luther King Jr. was a Mason, but yeah, there's evidence that Jesse Jackson was a Mason. Hell, that junk in his Wikipedia. You know what I'm talking about? Now, before we move on, I'll tell you this here though. That boy Al Sharpton was a gangster and a federal informant. You know what I'm talking about? And that nigga was a federal informant from like 19 years old, setting up the mob and setting up drug deals and stuff like that. But nevertheless, this is Isaiah 47:4. As for our Redeemer, Yahuwah of hosts is his name, the Kadash one of Yasharal. Sit you in silent and get you darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance. I have given them into your hand. You did show them no mercy. Upon the ancient you very heavily laid your yoke. Now, see, I mentioned all that for this one thing, right? That I've noticed in my 45 years of living that Black people like to do. Because we may have a great appreciation for certain works that these men may have accomplished, we once they die, or even while some of them are alive, we tend to want to turn our head from some of the vilest, wickedest, conduct that they were participating in and say that, oh, you're tearing down a Black man's legacy. And that junk really wicked as hell in my estimation. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, bro, if you able to find out and prove like, hey, this man got this, it helped line this man up. Man, I don't give a damn what you did, bro. You're a killer. And you really weren't about what you was doing. You did that to put yourself in a particular position for your own selfish benefit. You know what I'm saying? And you'll turn your head from that. Black people good for that because you want to put these people on a pedestal and elevate them and disregard any manner of wickedness, selfishness, manipulation that they were participating in. And it just showed proof positive that this are people who don't really want the word of God, because how could you be cool with that? You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about for people who profess to be of God, that you cool with that. And you think God gonna stamp that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's weird. Super duper weird. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We tend to do that. And I seen a dude made the reel, right? Because he was talking about Michael Jordan, that situation, looked like he was grabbing on that little white boy butt. And he was like, black people turn their head from stuff as long as you putting out good product. He used the example. And of course, I was a young man. When I say young man, I'm talking about a preteen, a teen, early 20s. All these stories and information about R. Kelly being a pedophile, and nobody cared. When this man had a video and he supposed to be urinating on this little girl, and he tried to say that was his brother and that wasn't him, nobody cared because he was making hits. The minute he stopped making hits is the minute that people was like, oh, this nigga's a pervert. But then when it was that I Can't Sleep and Down Low and record after record, nobody had a problem with it. Nobody wanted to get rid of this nigga when he's 27 years old, marrying a 15-year-old girl. You know what I'm saying? Nobody. Once he wasn't making good records no more, oh, this nigga nasty. You know, we tend to do that. Now, I looked at it like this here because some people like, oh, you shouldn't speak ill of the dead. And you know what done funny to me? Nigga tell you don't speak ill of the dead, but be swift to speak ill of the living. Now, where is that? Which one you think works? And then it ain't speaking ill of the dead if you're telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's the truth, it's the truth. If the nigga was a pervert, he was a pervert. If the nigga lined the nigga up, he lined the nigga up. You just can't disregard that because the nigga died. That's why people be going to people's funerals and stand up before that church and be lying. You know what I'm talking about? But nevertheless, Isaiah 47:7. And you said, I shall be a lady forever, so that you did not lay these things to your heart, neither did you remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, you are given to pleasures that dwell carelessly, saying in your heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon you in their perfection for the multitude of your sorceries and for the abundance of your enchantments. For you have trusted in your wickedness, and you have said, none see me. Your wisdom and your knowledge that perverted you. And you have said in your heart, I, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon you, and shall not know from whence it rise, and mischief shall fall upon you, and you shall not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon you suddenly, which you shall not know. Now, when you look at, now they put I, will put the am there. But when you read in verse 10, when he said, I and none else beside me, what do you take from what he's saying Babylon is saying? What is Babylon communicating in that instance? I am, and none else beside me. Yeah, that junk is funny though. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That effectively Babylon is saying that they're a god, which is not odd. If you recall when we were dealing with Shishak and Shadrach, and they're gods. You know what I'm saying? That those are effectively gods on the earth. So that's what Babylon is communicating. And Yahuwah letting it be known, I got something for you. This is verse 12. Stand now with your enchantments and with the multitude of your sorceries, when you have labored from your youth, and if you shall be able to profit, if you so may be preserved. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels, Lord, that the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from the things that shall come upon you. Behold, they shall be as stubble. Their fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, and there shall not be a cold or warming, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto you when you have belabored, even your merchants from your youth, and you shall wander everyone to his quarter. None will save you. Let's return back to Jeremiah 51. Which, of course, a lot of Isaiah 47 is in Revelation 18. This is Jeremiah 51. I am in this here, man. 37. And Babylon shall become, this is Jeremiah 51 and 37. Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for serpents, an astonishment, a hissing without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions, and they shall yell as lions' whelps. And in their heat I will make their feast, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith Yahuwah. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he goats. How is Shishak taken? How is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How has Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? The sea has come upon Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of ways thereof. Obviously, again, this is referring to the peoples. But cities are a desolation, a dry land, a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwell, neither do any son of Adam pass thereby. And I will punish Bel in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. And the nation shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. My people, go you out the midst of her, and deliver every man his soul from the fierce anger of Yahuwah. Lest your heart faint, and you fear, for the rumor shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and that in another year shall come a rumor. Violence in the land, ruler against ruler. And you can see the same information that the Lord said, that you hear nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. You say, but don't let that put no fear in your heart. Jeremiah told you the same thing the Lord telling you. Remember, it's all the same word. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then shall Shamahim and the Aras and all that is then therein shall sing for Babylon. For the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith Yahuwah. As Babylon have caused the slain of Yasharal to fall, so at Babylon shall fall all the slain of the Aras. And you that have escaped the sword, go away and stand not still, and remember Yahuwah far off, and let Jerusalem come to your mind. We are confounded because we have heard the reproach, and shame covered our faces, for strangers are coming to the sanctuaries of Yahuwah's house. Wherefore, behold, the day comes, saith Yahuwah, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Babylon shall mount up to Shamahim, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, from me shall the spoilers come unto her, saith Yahuwah. Now, verse 53. What does verse 53 take you back to? What does verse 53 take you back to? He said, though Babylon should mount up in Shamahim, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall the spoilers come unto her, saith Yahuwah. You got coffee in there? You got coffee in there? Indeed, good sir. The Tower of Babel. Let's take a look. Genesis 11 and 1. Peace, Brother Nate. Now, we've looked at the Tower of Babel, and you can see how that relates to Pentecost, because a lot of people add a lot of things about the Tower of Babel that are not necessarily there. One, that they want to make war with God. It don't say that. That's a lot of people's assumptions and insertions and therefore, and so on. But let's just read what it says. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. Now, when we look at Babylon, say like Proverbs, yeah. Now, when you look at Babylon and Revelation and what's referenced in Isaiah and Jeremiah, are they all one speech? Probably not. Do you know what I'm talking about? But it says that all the nations of the earth are getting paid from her, so they all there. As we just read in Jeremiah, it said that since Yasharal fell in Babylon, all the slain of the earth in Babylon would fall. Let's look at the next thing. It came to pass as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Now, of course, that takes us back to what we read in Zechariah, that the base will be in the land of Shinar, and this is Babylon. And they said, come to one to another, go, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and slime they had for mortar. And they said, let us go build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto Shamahim. Let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. So remember, this is the objective with the Babylon. Yeah, now see, that's when you look at extra biblical stuff. And I'm not here to because I don't think when people go to talk about what the name is, Nimrod and stuff like that, because when it mentioned Nimrod, it just said he was a mighty man in the earth. It don't really go into him being the spearhead between the Tower of Babel or them wanting to make war with God. Now, when you get into extra biblical sources, you're going to get some different narratives from that story. I'll let y'all find that out on your own research, and you can come to your own conclusion as it pertains to that. Me, myself, personally, if it don't explicitly outline that in the text, then I'm not really trying to interject that in. You know what I'm saying? Like we was having a conversation about David and Bathsheba. Madal was trying to insert that he believed that David sexually assaulted Bathsheba, though it don't say that. You know what I'm saying? Now there's some extra biblical sources that state that that Bathsheba intentionally and purposely was bathing in that particular location in order to be seen to seduce David to lay with her. If you go listen to the Jewish rabbis, they'll tell you that Bathsheba was initially betrothed to David, and then I forget the circumstances where she got with Uriah. So it was like the fulfilling of a love story that was delayed. You know what I'm saying? These are, there's a difference when, like I said, right, when you come into, when people be wanting to make biblical movies, because these stories are not meant for your entertainment, you know what I'm saying? But they're conveying a particular point. So, as it says in Romans 15, the things that are written aforetime were written for our learning. There's a lot of gaps of no information being inserted as forth as detail when it comes to certain things. So people like to insert those things to make the story more interesting. You understand? It said, curious how he arrived to that conclusion. In all seriousness, I just can't see it. Oh, but his definition of when it said he sent messengers to her to take her. So because he doesn't know the Hebrew word that's used for sexual assault. Because remember when we read about what Ammon did to Tamar, it's going to have the word anah there, which is humbled or afflicted. Like when you look at the word, when it says he sent messengers to take her, it's going to be the Hebrew word lakak, which is the same word that's used when it says he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, which is lakak, which is to take possession of. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the same thing. It's the same thing that I forget the Hebrew word in my mind at this particular time. In Deuteronomy 22, when it speaks of sexual assault, there's a particular word that's used there that denotes that. You know what I'm saying? So when you take it and you read it in English and it says he took her, from our terminology of how we speak in the 21st century, that would sound like sexual assault. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, he took her. You know what I'm saying? And that wouldn't be an unreasonable conclusion to come to, especially if you're not claiming to be, for lack of a better term, a theologian. You know what I mean? And when I say that, remember, because I would mention like people be in theological circles, like people who are in these theological circles online are they're gonna differ drastically from the average everyday person. This is the reason why, for a scriptural example, you don't see Yahushua going off on the common folk, for lack of a better term, like he did on the scribes and Pharisees. You know what I'm saying? Because their level, put it this way. Remember what he said to Nicodemus. And he said, ain't you a ruler in Yasharal? Ain't you supposed to know this? You know what I'm saying? There's a particular standard of things that if you claiming to be a teacher, you're supposed to know. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this dispensation of time, you can't tell me you are the Ruach HaKodesh and you talking about carnal things. You talking about things of the flesh. You know what I'm talking about? You talking about bloodlines and this, that, there. Boy, you carnal, boy. Because the Spirit of God ain't got no blood in it, so he not even coming with that type of time. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, he said, there's something else. Oh, yeah, we didn't agree with him either. You know what I'm saying? But also, I'm saying this, my dog, he knows some Hebrew, but he don't know it like that. So therefore, that's how he was looking at it. He was looking at how a lot of people looked at it as, he the king. She ain't going to turn down the king. But, word-wise, The king didn't have free reign to do what he wanted to do, like in other cultures and societies. You understand? Because we know that because when Ahab wanted to take that land from the Nabal, he knew he couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? In another culture and society, the king would have been, oh, let me get that. And it wouldn't have been no issue. He wouldn't have went back to his home crying and sad because he knew that's a sin against his God. Another culture, that ain't no sin against your God. So it don't give the context of what happened when she came to him. It just said that he laid with her. You feel me? So it don't denote if she was with it or not with it. The reader's you're gonna try to speculate your way into that. You know what I'm saying? It don't say. It just don't say. You know what I'm saying? So nevertheless, but this is the thing. David knew that was another man's wife because it said, is this not Uriah the Hittite's wife when he sent the messengers? So he knew. He knew this was another man's wife, so he was out of pocket first quarter. You know what I'm saying? And this is an instance where it don't go into great detail about was the woman wrong because the woman is not the focus of that particular narrative. The king is. You know what I'm saying? It's the same token of when you look at that with the woman in John 8. The focus wasn't the man who she was laying with. The focus was the mercy she was going to get. You know what I'm saying? We be looking at the other things versus looking at what the point of the matter was. Because some people are like, why would his God keep him alive? Hey, man, mercy rejoices against judgment. My nigga, he show himself merciful to those who show mercy. So you have a scriptural basis why in that instance, when he did committed at least 2 sins worthy of death. You understand? Because this man committed adultery and murder. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the instance like we were talking about before. Man, he lined Uriah the Hittite up. He did the same thing to Uriah the Hittite that Saul did to him when he had told him, go get these 200 foreskins. He lined that man up. You know what I'm saying? And then he spoke the judgment on his head when the prophet gave him the parable about a situation similar to that. But the Lord spared it. A lot of people don't take that into account about the text talking about, you know, the psalm that David wrote in Psalms 18 that he showed himself merciful to the merciful. And then, of course, you know, Yahushua saying that in Matthew 5, James writing that in his epistle letter, that mercy rejoices against judgment. People don't take that into account, the many times that David could have rendered vengeance and showed mercy. So when there was time for mercy for him, it was rendered. And the beauty of the mercy being shown in the narrative as it pertains to David is David wasn't asking or seeking the mercy. The mercy was granted to him before Nathan got there. You know what I'm talking about? But people don't pay attention to that. You say human nature, just my opinion, women being attracted to power more than likely. She was down with it because people were biting. Yeah, and that's a true story. But then we also have to take the cultural context of the time that they were living in. So the mindset of the women in that time, I won't say it's a 1-for-1 equal to women of this time. You know what I'm saying? Because true indeed, women are attracted to power, but based off that cultural context of the time period they were living in, it wasn't many people who had power like that to wield for women to want to desire them in that capacity, like we have now. You know what I'm saying? Like status in and of itself, wealth in and of itself, and power in and of itself wouldn't necessarily compel women of that time to commit adultery on their husband like it would now. Not to say that it didn't, because, you know, there's nothing new under the sun, but I don't believe the pull and allure would be as strong and as prevalent then as it is now. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just a different culture, different society. You know what I'm saying? Different level of socialization. You know what I'm saying? You know, just different. You know what I mean? But like I said, you know, we could speculate on that with Bathsheba. I'm not one to do so. You know what I'm saying? Because clearly, if there would have been a physical overpowering, an anah, if you would, I would be willing to bet money that Yahuwah would have laid that out that he did that. You know what I'm saying? But dang, you gonna sleep with another man's wife and take it? Because she would have had to been killed off. See, you know what I'm saying? That's why some people believe she wasn't killed or she wasn't mentioned because he took it. But it don't say that. You know what I'm saying? So you don't necessarily want to put that type of stuff on a man jacket if you would. You feel me? But let's finish at Genesis 11:4. And they said, go, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto Shamahim, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahuwah came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of Adam builded. Yahuwah said, behold, the people is one, and they all have one language. And this they began to do. Now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined. Go, let us go down there and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahuwah scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of the Arats, and they left off to build the city. Therefore, the name is called Babel, because Yahuwah did confound the language of all the Arats, and this did Yahuwah scatter them abroad upon the face of the Arats. Now, again, we've looked at this as it pertains to Pentecost, the people being one and of one language. But now when we look at this in the framework of Babylon, I want you to pay attention to this one passage. I want you to pay attention to verse 8 of Genesis 11. And it says, Yahuwah scattered them abroad thence upon the face of the Arats, and they left off to build the city. What do you take from verse 8? They left off to build the city. They left off from building the city. What do you ascertain from that? What's causing all of that, if you will? Anybody got any idea? Well, not idea, but Sunday they were like, "Hey, I see something in that," and juxtaposition to what we're looking at the Babylon and Jeremiah, the Babylon and Revelation. The Genesis says the people stopped from building the city. Ain't nobody got nothing that's coming to mind for them? Nobody? You say Revelation 18, 1-3. We already read that already. No, not in that instance, because that's dealing with, there's every hateful bird there. So when we look at Revelation 18, he said, hey, the angels coming down that's got great power saying Babylon is fallen, habitation of devils, and they drunk with the wine of a fornication. In that instance, the people been scattered. So what they were beginning to build, it stopped. So what I was hoping would stand out to you is this here. It said they left off to build the city. But when you come back and you look in Revelation and you look in Isaiah with Babylon, they came back and they finished building. You know what I'm saying? Because in this instance, Babylon hadn't fallen because Babylon hadn't even been built because it stopped. You know what I'm saying? I want you to come back and look at that one more time in Genesis 11. Not in that instance with the parable of Luke, because that's not going to be a one-for-one equivalent. Because he's talking about you coming to serve God and quitting. See, I want you to look at verse 3 in Genesis 11. They said one to another, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. They had brick and stone and slime for another. And they said, let us build us a city and a tower whose top reach unto Shamahim. Let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. So they're looking to build a city and make a name for themselves, a name of renown, if you would. Yahuwah sees that, what they're beginning to build, and he scatters them. So when you get to verse 8, he says they left off to build the city. They stopped. So when we come back to Revelation, say 17, I think we read it earlier. I'll read 17 and 17. For Elohim would put in their hearts to fulfill his will and agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Elohim should be fulfilled. And the woman which you saw is the great city which reigned over the kings of the earth. So remember, the woman sitting on the purple, arrayed in purple and scarlet, is Babylon. Now this city has been built. Now they have a name. You know what I'm talking about? And remember what we read in Jeremiah? Let me read Jeremiah 51 again. Because what we're looking at with the Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, is the work that they was being, the city that was being attempted to be built in Genesis 11 that wasn't finished. By the time we get to the end, they finished the building. They finished building that city. Let's look at Jeremiah 51. I want you to look at verse 49. As Babylon hath caused the slain of Yasharal to fall, so shall fall all the slain of the earth. So in this instance, it's saying, hey, multitude of nations, multitude of people, they all there. They all there. Every last one of them there. Let's come back to Jeremiah 51. Now, this is an instance where I just want you to look and pay attention to the small things, the way you see the parallel to the story. You feel me? So, did I read what I wanted? Come to Jeremiah 51 and 53. Though Babylon should mount up to Shamahim, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet for me shall spoilers come under her, saith Yahuwah. Now, of course, being mounted up to Shamahim, let's see what mount means. And that's why we went and read Genesis 11, because of that reference. Take us back to that. And of course, that references are pertaining to them building a city and a tower. So if they're mounting up to Shamahim, the tower has also been, the city has been built in order for them to make a tower to do such a thing. So when we look at mount, of course, this is Allah, Ayin, Lamad, and Hay. This is to go, to ascend, to climb, to go up, to ascend, to meet, to visit, follow, depart, withdraw, retreat, to be taken up, to brought what, to take oneself up, to be exalted, to bring up, to cause to ascend, to cause to go up. So in this instance, they have caused themselves to go up to Shamahim, that they should fortify the height of her strength. When we look at what is fortification here, or fortifying, that's basar. That is to gather, to fortify, to make inaccessible, to enclose, to fortify, or to therefore make them a city that is not able to be destroyed or taken down. We look at verse 54 of Jeremiah 51. A sound of a cry from Babylon and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. Because Yahuwah has spoiled Babylon and destroyed out of her the great voice. When her raves do war like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered, because the spoiler is come upon her, upon Babylon. The mighty men are taken, every one of their bows is broken, for Yahuwah Elohim of recompenses shall surely requite. And I will make her drunk her princes and her wives, her captains and her rulers, her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith the Malach, who is Yahuwah of hosts. Thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gate shall be burned with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. The word which came to Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sariah the son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, when he went to Zechariah, Malachah, Yehuda into Babylon in the 4th year of his reign, and Sariah a quiet prince. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that shall come upon Babylon, all these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, when you come to Babylon and shall see and shall read all these words, then you shall say, O Yahuwah, you have spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but it shall be desolate forever. And it shall be that when you have made an end of reading this book, that you bind a stone to it and cast it in the midst of the Euphrates. And you shall say, thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. But thus are the words of Jeremiah. Now, ain't this interesting how these people tell you they ain't got no book, and this man, what's happening, Rohan? This man say, take this book and bind it and toss it in a river. But nevertheless, let's come back to Revelation 18. And Revelation 18 is, as you know, rehashing, because we read Isaiah 13 as it pertains to Babylon, the destruction of that particular city, because now what they sought to do in Genesis 11 and building a city and a tower and making their name, at the end, they're going to be able to accomplish that task, which is why she's called the great mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. You know what I'm saying? Because now at this particular point, she's the producer of unfaithfulness. Nothing but idolatry, damnation, and abomination and wickedness being dispensed from one end of the earth to the other. Now we're in Revelation 18 and 3. Because we have to remember, when we look at the first time with the Tower of Babel, the nations hadn't drunk from the wine of her unfaithfulness. Because it doesn't speak of them performing any unfaithfulness. It doesn't speak of them doing any of those things. It's just say we're going to stop them from building lest they be restrained in what it is that they're seeking to do. You know what I'm saying? The one thing we have to do when we look at certain things is pause your brain and look exactly what's being Remember in verse 6, it says this in Genesis 11. Yahuwah said, behold, the people is one. They all have one language and they begin to work, or asah. Now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. So I'm going to get you restrained and imagined. Now, when you look at to do, of course, that's asa, and that is to work. When you look at restraint, I think I did read basar already. But imagined is zamam, to have a thought, consider, a purpose, devise a plan. It can be a plot of evil intent or just a purpose or device or to fix their thoughts upon. So he said at that point, nothing that they make their thoughts upon will be able to be stopped. Now, we can infer evil intent because of the definition of the word, but the text in and of itself does not explicitly lay out that they had any evil intent. Because verse 4 says, the people said, let us go build a city and a tower whose top might reach to heaven, lest to make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad or scattered one from another. This is what the text says explicitly, that's what their intent was. We can sit here and speculate and insinuate and this, that, and the third, all you want. And that's your business. And you can say, nah, they were doing this, you lying. Hey, man, you can say whatever you want, but that's not what you read off that paper, though. You know what I'm saying? You don't read that off that paper. So you have to pause your mind and say, hey, it don't say that. That's what I think they did. And usually why we think they did that, because we've been hearing people for years say that's what was going on there. So it's in your subconscious to see that when you read it, even though it don't say that explicitly. It doesn't say that. You know what I'm saying? So we have to pause our mind and say, hey, it don't say nothing that they want to fight God. Because that's what people tell you that they were making the Tower of Babel to do, so they could go to war with God. It don't say that. It tells you exactly what they wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Indeed, Rohan, Christians do that a lot. But I think that's just because that's how they're taught. You know what I'm saying? That's just how they're taught. That's what they're told. So that's just how they're going to view it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of brews feel that way too, though. Because that's just what they were told. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it says, man, they wanted to build a city and a tower so they could have a name. That's what it says. Now, what you think that means and what you want to ascertain from that, that's your business. But we can't state that explicitly as that scriptural fact because it don't say that. It says what it says. But what we can do is see that when he scattered them, the building of Shinar stopped. If you recall what we read in Zechariah 5, when it talked about those two women who had wings like a stork that flew over that, it says, hey, and he said unto me to build it a house in the land of Shinar, it shall be established and set their base there. So when we come back around and we look at it, hey, Shinar was getting built this time and they were going to be able to finish the task. They were going to be able to finish the task. And in finishing this task, now the mother of harlots is birthed. And now the wine of her fornication is being passed around to everybody. Because we have to remember this one particular thing. At the time that Genesis 11 is made manifest, the earth just got back from being flooded. He ain't even hollered at Abraham yet. You know what I'm saying? We have to take in contextually what we see going on here. Because what we see going on there is not, I don't believe America is Babylon now. I know a lot of people say that. You know what I'm saying? But nah. Because once we look at, if you're talking about the literal location, because once we say America is the literal location, then you're going to have to pinpoint, well, where is Egypt? Then you're going to have to say the land is there. Because if we say America is Babylon, and Babylon is to the north of the land of Canaan, then that's why people have the point of view and teaches that the land is in South America. I think, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of them hold that it's in Brazil. Yeah, a lot of them hold that it's in Brazil, if my memory serves me correct. It's a lot of people who don't believe the particular maps that are on the planet right now, and that's their business. Because I'm not here to fuss, fight, or argue with anybody about none of that. You know what I'm saying? He said, I think the teaching is that Babylon is an empire. Indeed, and I know that's the teaching, but of course, as you know, like I know, Rohan, the book talking about locations. You know what I'm talking about? The book talking about locations. You know what I'm saying? Because it's telling the people to flee in Jeremiah 51 from Babylon, to think about coming back to Jerusalem. Because it says that in Jeremiah 50. You know what I'm talking about? And then, of course, we know that during the time of Nehemiah and Ezra, they left Babylon and was able to return back to Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? I think with a lot of stuff, when it comes to these land masses in our modern time, we want to make it, it's the system, it's this, it's that, and that's cool. Because there's some credence to that. But the reality is the text explicitly is talking about a land location. You know what I'm talking about? A land mass and a land area, because he said he would make it desolate without inhabitant. Of course, also taking into account when we take in what we read already as it pertains to the wilderness with Isaiah 16, that it says that's in the land of Moab. Of course, when we were talking about the valley of Hinnom and the valley of Tophet, but that's outside of Jerusalem. Remember, as he told Ezekiel to prophesy to the south because he was in Babylon. So all those locations matter. You know what I'm saying? Because the reality is, let's just pause. Like I said, there's a lot of people who believe a lot of different things as it pertains to this. I'm gonna tell you all the things I've heard people say what they believe the land is. Of course, the Mormons were one of the first proponents of that. The land is in Utah. Now, I've seen we watched a whole, I think Will remember that, junk. I know he looked at it. A dude had a whole documentary series that the land is California. And basically some of the states on the West Coast, but most specifically California. You know what I'm talking about? You have some people that believe the land is in South America, as I stated before. If I'm leaving some spots out, somebody mention that for me, because I can't remember everything. You know what I'm saying? Because I haven't pondered on these things in a very, very long time. You know what I'm saying? But also to take into account, let's just say, okay, if the land is California, then Babylon would have to be Washington State or Oregon or Canada. You know what I'm saying? But see, here go the kicker. Ain't no deserts in Canada. So that's when some people are going to be like, okay, you can't go by the directions and this. It's always going to be something that somebody has to manipulate in order for it to fit their doctrine. You understand? Because if we just take on what's explicitly laid out in the text and you say it's these areas, cool. I ain't got no problem with that. It's going to have to match up with what's written, though. You know what I'm saying? And that's what some people, as my mans like to say, man, a pseudo dies at its source. You know what I'm talking about? Because I said, if it's California, Babylon is north of it's north of Jerusalem. It's north of the land of Canaan. That's what the text say. That's what it say. You know what I'm saying? Simple as that. Say my uncle sent me a video, and the video basically said that all the Native American names were Hebrew. And I've seen things similar to that in times past. What's wrong with you, boy? It's the same that, like what the Mormons saying is Utah. Okay, that's cool. But Utah doesn't even have the year-round climate that the text say that Israel has. He said Ararok reminds me of the term first spirit, so I kind of dropped my mouth a bit. Not for sure. Because then let me see what states is north of Utah. Because again, Babylon would have to be north of that. So you have to look at that. And then you have to line that up. What did it say? So it's Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado. You know what I'm saying? That ain't gonna fit. Because we know Wyoming doesn't have the climate that would match Babylon. Idaho doesn't have the climate that would match Babylon. Say no Euphrates or Tigris anywhere either. And you have to take that into account. Now, this is not to disparage nobody that holds any of those particular views. Even if it's South America, you know, Idaho and Montana. Come on, man. Nobody even live there because of the extreme climates in the wintertime. You know, the text don't really lay that out with, say, Idaho and Montana and Oregon and Washington State, that Babylon had this extreme level of climate there. You feel what I'm saying? And then on top of that, you're going to have to identify the land of Moab, because the land of Moab would be south of Babylon. The land of Ammon, because that's going to be south of Babylon. You're going to have to identify where Edom is, because that's the south of Babylon. Like a dude I knew, he said that Edom was New York State. I'm like, nigga. Because where did he tell me the land was? I can't remember what Moran said. He said where he believed the land was. Man. I think he might have said the same thing. I think he was like Utah also. He said the truth will be revealed when the land is once the man of sin rises. And that's a true story, Standard. That's a true story. I'm trying to remember what Moran, the Iranian dude I know, said it was. But I know he told me that he believed that the land of Edom was New York State. I'm like, dude, that's east. Edom is south of the land, bro, according to the word. Then he came up with some old mumbo jumbo. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I be telling you, that's why you got to read the book for yourself and just pay attention to these things. That's why I try not to watch people's videos or listen to their studies or books into their thing. I don't have a problem, and I can understand why you feel that way, so I'm not knocking you for that. I don't have a problem listening to people's point of view. Your point of view just has to, like if it line up with the text, then hey, man, you got a point there. You know what I'm saying? But we just can't arbitrarily say things because, like, he said, like, there's a literal, you know what I'm saying, Garden of Eden. Definitely, because you have to sit back and look at it. It mentions those four rivers that part in Genesis. You know what I'm saying? It mentions the Euphrates and the Tigris. You know what I'm saying? Tigris rivers in the text. So you have to pinpoint where's that at. And then, of course, now some will say, okay, the land ain't giving forth her fruit because Israel ain't in it. Valid. I'll give you that. You know what I'm saying? But we would have to look at the type of things that agriculturally these particular areas produce and do it line up with that. As I said, Babylon is north of Canaan. Edom and Moab are south of Babylon also, and they're adjacent to the land of Canaan. As it says in Deuteronomy 32, you know, he gave the sons of Adam their land by inheritance. Let me read that to you. It might not seem like its own topic, but it is, because these things are not irrelevant, because, you know, the end time stuff is the stuff that people want to figure out the most. And I can understand, truthfully, Deuteronomy 32 and 8. You know what I'm saying? And this ain't no cap. Like, he said Ethiopia was never conquered and retained its name. Well, you know, Ethiopia, it was Cush beforehand. They did get conquered, though. They got took over by the Italians during World War II. I know that happened at the most. You know what I'm saying? At the least. Because that's when Haile Selassie dipped and went to Britain and then came back. But what it is, I'm finna. I can't remember. Deuteronomy 32 and 8. Say, when the Most High divided the nations their inheritance. There you go, right there. Yirmiyahu, where you said the land is over here, Yirmiyahu. What state you said it was over here? I would just mention that because we talking about Babylon, and I was speaking on people's point of view, where they believe the land is. Oh, that nigga left. You know what I'm saying? what people say the land is, he popped right in here, then he did. Say, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the sons of Yasharal. So he said, when they do all look biracial, I don't believe it. Wow. So you have to take all that into account. See, people want to isolate the place that they believe and not everything with it in its totality. And honestly, that's just spiritually, intellectually dishonest as far as instruction is concerned, because you can't pick something out and then exclude everything else when it doesn't line up with the area that you want something to be. You know what I'm saying? Because the Euphrates has to be there. The Tigris has to be there. You know what I'm saying? Egypt is close by to the land of Canaan. And Egypt ain't far from Babylon. And the land of the Medes is not far from Babylon. And it's not far from Canaan. And the Assyrian land is not far from Canaan. And Edom is not far from Canaan. And Moab and Ammon's land is not far from Canaan. And the land of Tyre is not far from Canaan. And the land of the Philistines is not far from Canaan. None of these lands are far away from each other. So when we look at it saying, okay, the United States, it's over here in the United States. Cool. But we can't say, okay, Babylon is here, and then you mention the land that's way on the East Coast. Because that don't line up with what you see in the text when they tell you where these lands are at. It's forfeits in juxtaposition to each other. You know what I'm saying? Because if you say, hey, man, Florida's the land, Georgia's such and such, that's cool. But you're going to have to say Egypt is here. It's going to have to line up geographically. We just can't make it be what we want it to be, because that suits and fits what the point of view or teaching that we're trying to convey. That's just dishonest. You know what I'm saying? But people do it every day. You know what I'm talking about? People do it every day. Some people have compelling points of view for their stance, and some don't. Some people are regurgitating, and some people took their time to do some strong due diligence and look into it. And it's like, you know what? I can see why you came to that conclusion, but there be holes in it. That's why you have to know the word, because people be having holes and stuff. And that's why I always tell y'all, like case in point, like we were discussing with the Genesis 11, to slow your mind down. It's not a rush to get an answer of what you think somebody wants, but actually slow your mind down. Look at what you're reading. Shalom, Sister Kelly. Pay attention to every single solitary word that's being communicated, and every book and every chapter and every verse. You know what I'm saying? So when you do that, you can see how stuff line up together, because they should meet in harmony. You know what I'm saying? And 100% akkad. But you have to take your time in what you're looking at. Gotta stop speeding. This ain't no, you know what I'm saying? It's not a rush to get an answer. Really pause and pay attention to what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? Like when he said, hey, man, these people done stopped off to build the city. Okay, pause. Let's look at that. They stopped to build the city. Well, what were they building the city for? Okay, they were building the city for this. Now we come back and we look at the mother of harlots, the great whore, and say, you know, Mystery Babylon, the great. Now, if she's great, she's Gadol. That means she has a name. You know what I'm saying? She has a reputation. That's what Shem means. Now she got a name and reputation. She didn't have that when that tower was stopped. Now she got it. Oh, they finished building the city. Now they have a name. Now they won't be scattered abroad. They can all come here. You know what I'm saying? He said, we know these folks lie. And that's what I was finna say there. Thank you. That don't get it twisted. We know these white folks be lying. You know what I'm saying? We know they be lying. A lot. Because matter of fact, somebody on Thread was talking about that. Somebody said they didn't believe in dinosaurs, and they were like, why don't you believe in dinosaurs? That's stupid. And my response was, why do you believe in them? Because I'm like, you're dealing with a white power structure that in general are known liars. So you should be skeptical about anything they have to say. That's not to say, let's say, just using that point, that's not to say that dinosaurs didn't exist. But I'm skeptical with these people because they be lying. These people got full-fledged stuff about how dinosaurs sound and what they did. Nigga, how do they know? How were you able to derive all that from fossils, nigga? There's never been a human being that wrote any records down of these animals of any type at any time in history. There's no written. That's not to say that there were never any written records. You did. Let me just clarify that with that. But just saying this forth is what has been found. There are no human records at all about dinosaurs. Not one. From not one society, not one culture, not one civilization has anything about them. Yet these people can tell you what they look like, how they sounded. They just be making up names for them. Indeed, and carbon dating has already been shown to be faulty. The Big Bang Theory speaks for itself because it's a theory. You know what I'm saying? But you know how human beings are. You know what I mean? So you have to think about that. You have to weigh that out. You could take with that. You could do what you want to with it. But you have to slow your brain down when you read the text, man. Stop being in such a hurry to want to come up with an answer. But pay attention to what you're looking at. Pause and reflect. Or as the text says, Selah. Look at what you're looking at, especially when you're looking to piece things together. You feel me? But let's read Revelation 18. It's the same token of what we read earlier in Jeremiah 51 and 35. We could easily look at that. Oh man, you done violence to my body, to me and my flesh, and we'll just skip right over. You know what I'm saying? Instead of when you're reading something that's slow, whoa. We look at that. That's striking. You've done violence to me and my flesh, and I'm going to get vengeance on you? Who is the he? Who is the me? Who is the flesh? You know what I'm saying? And then when you take that into totality and you look at things like this here, man, then there's a difference. The other case in point, like I mentioned earlier with Genesis 11 with Babel, it wasn't no nation who had the word. The earth just got flooded. They just repopulated. You know what I'm saying? So it would make sense why they all have one language, because who repopulated the earth? Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth. These are only 4 men on who was left to repopulate the earth. They are the same language. They are the same tongue. They are the same people. Which in turn, it probably wasn't different languages before that. Because why would they have had different languages when everybody's springing from Adam? There would have been no need for no different language here, different language there. They all are the same family for all intents and purposes. So those are things that I mean when you look at stuff, slow your brain down. Don't skip over stuff. Don't just omit stuff. Let stuff flow and come to mind. You feel what I'm saying? That's why I'll tell you, you lay the word up in your heart and stuff will come to mind for you. That's what he told him. But nevertheless, Revelation 18 and 3. For all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. The merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from Shamahim saying, come out of her, my people, and be not partakers with her. Be partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues. We read that in Jeremiah 51 also. For her sins have reached unto Shamahim, and Elohim have remembered her iniquities. Remember, they said they were trying to mount the Shamahim, but in that there was no sin to be remembered. Remember, he didn't say they sinned. He said, I'm going to stop them from the plans that they're going to do. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much has she glorified herself and lived deliciously? So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and she shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall utterly be burned with fire. For strong Yahuwah Elohim who judge her. Now come to Psalms 137. If some of y'all remember when Obama ran for president, you know his pastor said this out loud, had a lot of people upset. Psalms 137 and 1. This is something that I told you one sister we kick it with. She got upset about that. A lot of people feel like Yahuwah's a murderer. You know what I'm saying? It'd be funny that they consider him to be a murderer when he's recompensing people for the iniquity that they committed. I don't even think that people really understand what murder is. But it's also because of the aspect of they don't feel like God should take people's lives for their behavior. But nevertheless. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us mirth. Sing us of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing Yahuwah song in a strange land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget. If I do not remember you, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy, which is why we could read in Jeremiah when he said, hey, when you flee, man, let Jerusalem come to mind. Why should Jerusalem come to mind? Because the name of the city is Yahuwah is there. Because that's the city where your God left his name at. Remember, O Yahuwah, the sons of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise to the foundation thereof, O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed. Happy that rewards you as you have served us. Happy that take and dash your little ones against the stones. See, that make people upset. Because he's saying, hey, man, take them little children and crack their head across a rock. But I'm going to read Luke 18 on general principle. Because see, me personally, and I told him that at the day we had that conversation in Luke 18:1, I don't give a damn about none of that. I think I said that on here a couple of weeks ago. I don't care about none of that. They children's head going to have to get cracked in. You understand what I'm talking about? Because when they were cracking your children's head, ain't nobody cry for you. And that's another problem with black folk too, man, that I've noticed in my 45 years of living. The same way like when Elisha stepped to the king and said, hey, man, drop them arrows, and he stay stamp on them. Hold on, I got to read that. Because Elisha was pissed off. You know what I'm talking about? Because he said, boy, you supposed to stamp on that there till this nigga was consumed. You playing games. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is that we be wanting to extend grace and mercy to people who don't want to extend it to you. That when these people turned around and killed you and did you, come over here to 2 Kings chapter 13, verse 14. And I get it. You know, you got the aspect of, wow, what did the kids do? But what did your kids do? How you got more compassion for people who ain't had no compassion for you? Nigga, that's wild. You know what I'm talking about? And I don't give a damn what nobody think about that. So you mean to tell me you just cool with that, huh? You just cool with that, huh? Let me just pause for a moment, right? Let's just take modern times, since I mentioned Jesse Jackson earlier, right? Let's just take Jesse out of the equation. Let's say Jesse didn't line this man up. You know what I'm saying? And let's just take out all the outside stuff that people be saying about these men and just deal straightforward with what they were trying to do. And that we know for a fact, unequivocally, based off the COINTELPRO documents, that they want to stop the rise of a black messiah and to send in agents and things of this nature to cause division and divisiveness in order to make these men turn on one another to destroy these particular organizations, to the point that even that they would be willing to assassinate these men. That we knew these men assassinated Huey P. Newton. We knew these people assassinated Fred Hampton. We know these people assassinated Martin Luther King Jr. We know these people assassinated Malcolm X. We know these people assassinated Medgar Evers. We know they did all that to these men. The list go on and on and on and on. You understand what I'm telling you? And you mean to tell me you cool with that? You don't want no vengeance. Let me just put it this way. You's a hoe. You's a sucker and a buster, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know what I'm talking about? When the people turn around and did what they did to Emmett Till, or what they did down there in Rosewood, Florida, man, to them people, man. Oh, you cool with that, huh? Oh, you ain't got no problem with that. You don't want to see your enemy trotting down like Meyer in the street. You comfortable with that, huh? You's a sucker. You know what I'm talking about? When they took your baby and stepped on his head after they slapped him out your mama's stomach, you cool with that, huh? When they took your granddaddy and hung him from a tree and set him on fire, you was cool with that, huh? That means you're comfortable, huh? Huh? When the KKK used to ride around, hunting niggas like dogs, killing your children, raping your women. Oh, you cool? You don't want nothing to happen to them. No, I don't want nothing to happen to them. You's a buster and a sucker. You know what I'm talking about? Because I'm going to be honest with you. Every other culture of people will want blood with no problems. But you feel like you got to walk around and tiptoe and apologizing for that. Nigga, you better let your nuts hang and be a goddamn man, my nigga. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you, man? When you can sit back and you look when them people wanted to kill all them sons in Egypt, man, you will say, don't worry about it. I'm going to kill their sons, man. I'm going to reward you like you rewarded them. Man, that's how the game go, my nigga. They people should have thought about that before they did what they did. You should have thought about that. The same way that our forefathers should have thought about that before they did what they did to put us in a position to even have to deal with these inhumane, barbaric individuals in the first place. In the first place. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm not apologizing for that. Before I knew some word, I wasn't apologizing for that. And I'm certainly not apologizing for seeing it in the text. And I don't care who feelings get hurt and feel it. We shouldn't feel that way. Ho, nigga, shut up. You's a buster to me. You's a hoe to me, my nigga. I do not respect you, cuz. Because that mean to tell me, man, you'll watch a nigga kill your mama, watch a nigga rape your sister, and all that, and be comfortable with it. Talking about we should overcome. I'm going to overcome and put a bullet in your head, nigga. What the hell is you talking about? Is you crazy, my nigga? And these niggas out there goddamn mind. You know what I'm talking about? He said they burned the symbol on one of the brothers' lawns when it was almost passing. See, come on, man. Man, I ain't on that. Man, I ain't on that, man. You know what I'm talking about? Boy, we want some recompense, boy. Especially when you read, he say, I'm Yahuwah Elohim of recompenses. I mean, so I'm going to pay these people back. So that comforts my soul to know that this man say, I'm going to pay these people back for what they've done to you. You ain't got to worry about that. I'm going to handle that. So since he said he going to handle that, I can rest easy, my G. That's what we're going to see when we read Luke 18. But let me read this 2 Kings 11. Not 11, I'm sorry. 2 Kings 13 and 14, you did. 2 Kings 13 and 14. Now Elisha was falling sick of this sickness where he died, and Joash the Malach of Yasharal came down unto him and wept over his face and said, O my Abba, the chariots of Yasharal and the horsemen thereof. And Elisha said unto him, take bow and arrows. And he took unto him the bow and arrows. And he said unto the king of Yasharal, put your hand upon the bow. And he put his hand upon it. And Elisha put his hands upon the king's hands. And he said, open the window eastward. And he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot. And he shot. And he said, the arrow of Yahuwah's deliverance, and the arrow of deliverance from Syria. For you shall smite the Syrians in Aphek till you have consumed them. And he said, take the arrows. And he took them. And he said unto the Malach of Yasharal, smite upon the ground. And he smote thrice and stayed. And the man of Elohim was wroth with him and said, you should have smitten 5 or 6 times, that you had smitten Syria till they have been consumed. Whereas now you shall smite Syria but thrice. That man was pissed off about that. He said, you should have stepped on that 3 more times, cuz, till they were utterly consumed. What is you doing? But see, we don't be thinking about that. They said the man of God was pissed off. I'm angry. I'm vexed about that. Man, you should have mashed these niggas. The hell you mean? These people been afflicting you and oppressing you, and you around here 1, 2, 3, stop. Nah, man, I'd have stepped on that whole 15 times then. Get these niggas out of here. So you ain't got to deal with them no more. Luke 18 and 1. And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought to always to pray and not to faint, saying there was in the city a judge which feared not Elohim, neither regarded man. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, avenge me of my adversary. And he said he would not for a while, but afterwards he said within himself, though I fear not Elohim nor regard man, yet because this widow troubled me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. And the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge say. And shall not Elohim avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the son of Adam come, shall he find faith on the earth? So considering that we know he's going to avenge us speedily, we could just focus on building up our faith. That's already done. We ain't got to worry about that. That's already done. You dig? That's completed, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? People just think about the cool ones they know and don't think that they deserve anything. That like Quran, for example. You know what? And I can understand that. And like for me, I don't even be thinking about individual people. I really be thinking about the entire power structure as a whole. You dig? You know what I'm saying? And if you happen to be a supporter of that power structure, then you ought to suffer the consequences thereof. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I view it personally. Like you know what I'm saying? I ain't never sit back and look at it and I'm thinking about this white man over here, this white man over here, or I'm walking down the street looking at some white person and be like, oh, I can't wait for you to die. I ain't thinking about it like that. I'm thinking about the power structure that purported and assisted and